All right, this is your creation. My name is Starseed Bey, and holy moly, we're gonna be talking about some interesting stuff. Man, I tell you, when you do research and you just try to put all the pieces of the puzzle together, you just end up getting more and more and more and more stuff. So we're gonna see how this goes. Probably gonna stick to some key things, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug my stuff, and we will go from there. So if you would like to reach me, I do have two Facebook pages. I got a public Facebook page and a private Facebook page. So definitely check me out on there. Just type in Adam Starseed Bey. And also I am on YouTube as well. So definitely, if this is your first time checking me out, definitely go to my YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, share, click the notification button so you know when I go live. So yeah, I also got a Patreon site too. I'm still working on it. But if you type in Adam Starseed Bey, you'll find me on there. So yeah, definitely anything will help, man, because I mean the more, if you guys appreciate what I do and everything, it helps me out and it allows me to make more videos for you guys and to get more equipment to make this stuff more professional. So yeah, so it's pretty cool. So yeah, I'm on Patreon, so yeah, you can definitely check it out. The page isn't finished yet, but it will be, and once it's done, I'll start getting it out there. So yeah, so anyways, that's about it. So yeah, so oh man, I don't even know where to begin on this. So I've had some interesting talks with some people about the Republicans and the Democrats, right? And the whole end time thing. Um, but as a whole, we're going to be looking into the reasons why things are. We'll use the United States. Why things are, why there's a republic, why there's a Democrats, the history behind it. You got the Skull and Bones, you got the Illuminati, you got the Freemasons, you got, man, there's so many things, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. So we're going to be digging deep into this, and you're going to really see something really weird. See something really weird. Like I said, it's all from a business standpoint. Businesses. And I talked about that before, is with the term of archons, right? Archons, if you look it up, it's basically how the Roman Empire started, which is what we have now. And it's, if you run the banks, right? If you run the banks, you create a huge military faction, right? Huge. And you also run the churches, you're set. You're set. Nothing's going to stop you. Those are the three main things. And that's really how things kind of developed over time, is by business. By business, by greed, divide and conquering and all of that stuff, man. It's insane. But I've been telling people for a while now, that you have to look at the origin of the Republicans and the origin of the Democrats and realize, for one, it's all staged, and you got to do your research on it. But they work together. They work together. It's called a democratic republic. Democratic republic, or the republic, right? What is a republic? A republic are rulers of the land, are rulers of the land. And we have to view it like that. We have to view it like that. So many people here in the United States view the Republicans and the Democrats as a dividing function, right? A dividing faction of people that have different viewpoints, and different ways of presenting themselves. And we're going to talk about that too, on how they present themselves. But it's really a tool to persuade the people to choose a side, And I get this so much. Is that you have to choose a side. You have to choose a side. If you don't choose the one side, you're against me. You choose the other side, well, then you're part of the good side, right? You have to choose a side. And there's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. That's kind of how the Republican and Democrats work, is of dividing the people and choosing sides, and that's the basic strategy on how war works, and that's kind of was one of the things that popped up. I think I'll go ahead and read this a little bit. That's kind of what the Revolutionary War was, based upon what I've read a little bit. Don't know too much about it, but basically, the Revolutionary War was between 1775 and 1783. It was a global war that began as a conflict between Great Britain and its 13 colonies, which declared independence. As the United States of America. After 1765, let's see here. To me, it was just, this war was just over the United States, on who would run the United States. And it's so interesting on how the United States, right? We got America, right? Well, America, the land is separate from the United States because the United States is a business. The United States is a business and organization that was created from these leaders and from these wars. They conquered this land. And I tried to find some kind of history on the colonies that were here before the Europeans and Rome and all that came over here and took over the land. But all I could read up on it was just theories on who lived here. And that's what happened, is that the history of America was destroyed when they came over here. They destroyed stuff, and they got rid of history here. I'm not too sure why that would be. Probably just because, again, it's a way of control. They're called the founding fathers, right? We're taught about George Washington and the founding fathers. Well, they didn't find anything. They discovered this land, but it was already populated, and it was very peaceful. People lived off the land and everything. And then here comes these people on boats and guns, and just, they just totally took over. And it reminds me of like when they started creating all the railroad, right? The railroad, when they started that, and they had to again negotiate, but they ended up forcing their way into, and again, creating land and these railroads for profit again. So it's all been about profit. It's all been about conquering. It's all been about profit. And it's crazy. I mean, should you run, if you're conquering land, should you run it like a business? Not like that. Not through bloodshed. You should never have to do that through bloodshed. But that's what they did. That's history, man. It's a lot of blood. So it was a lot of blood, a lot of sacrificing, and it was horrible, man. It really was. So, like I said, there's so much stuff to talk about. So we're going to focus on just the Democrats and the Republicans for now. And you're going to see a weird little combination here. So the Republican Party, also referred to as the GOP, which is for Grand Old Party, which is interesting, is one of the two major political parties in the United States. The other being is the Democrats, right? The rival. The party is named after republicanism, a major ideology of the American Revolution, founded by anti-slavery activist, economic modernizer, ex blah blah blah, ex National Republicans, ex Free Soilers and Whigs in 1854. And you guys, this is why it's so important to do research, because there's so much backstory to all this stuff, and it all ties into why things are the way they are. The Republicans largely dominated politics nationally and in the majority of northern states between the 1860s and 1932. Originally, the GOP to subscribe to what is referred to as a classical liberalism with ideological stands that were anti-slavery and pro-economic reform. The party has usually dominant over the Democrats during the third party system and fourth party system in 1912. Then Theodore Roosevelt comes in and he formed the Progressive Bull Mouse Party. So there's other parties as well. That's interesting. Now it makes me want to look into that. So yeah, so there was a Bull Mouse one as well. After being rejected by GOP and run as a candidate, it called for many social reforms, some of which were later championed by New Deal Democrats in the 30s. He lost the election and so on and so forth. There were odds with the new conservative economic stance, leading to them leaving for the Democratic Party and an ideological shift to the right in the Republican Party. The liberal New Deal Democrats dominated the fifth party system as a national level. Blah, blah, blah. Currently, their ideology is American conservatism. A whole lot of isms in there. Which contrasts with the Democrats' liberal platform and progressive wing. The GOP's political platform supports lower taxes, free market capitalism, free enterprise, a strong national defense, gun rights, deregulations, and restrictions on labor unions, in addition to advocating for conservative and economic politics. The Republican Party is social conservative and seeks to uphold traditional values based largely on Judeo-Christian ethics. The GOP was strongly committed to protectionisms, a whole bunch of isms, and tariffs from its foundings until the 30s, when it was based in the industrial Northeast and Midwest since 1952. There have been reversals against protectionisms and for free trade. After the Civil Rights Acts of '64 and the Voting Rights of '65, the party's core base shifted, with the southern states becoming more reliable Republican in presidential politics, and so on and so forth. So yeah, so it just keeps going on and on. So in the Republican Party, they use the elephant as their logo, which is interesting, to say the least. So I'll be talking about that. But yeah, Theodore Roosevelt had a moose as well, or the bull, which kind of ties into what I want to talk about too, because the bull is an idol, right? Is an idol. There's the bull that's in New York, right? On Wall Street, I think it is. And they're all symbolisms. The elephant's really jacked up, and so is the donkey as well. So that's the Republican Party. I think that's pretty much it for that. And then the Democrats, the Democratic. Okay, I'm gonna read this here in just a sec here. Let's make sure I got this right here. All right, so Democrat Party. The Democratic Party is one of two major politicals alongside the Republican Party, tracing its heritage back to Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. The modern-day Democratic Party was founded around 1828 by supporters of Andrew Jackson, making it the world's oldest active political party. The Democrats' dominant worldview was once social conservatism and economic liberalism, with populism was its leading character in the Rural South in 1912. And then it talks about Roosevelt's Bull Party as a first, let's see, leading to a switch political platform between the Democratic and Republic, being elected as the first progressive Democrat since Franklin and his New Deal coalition in the 30s. Today, the House Democratic I don't know what that word is composed mostly of centrists and progressives, with a small minority of conservative Democrats. The party's philosophy of modern liberalism advocates social and economic equality along with the welfare state. It seeks to provide government intervention and regulations in the economy. These interventions, such as the introduction of social programs, supports for labor unions, affordable college tuition, moves towards universal health care and equal opportunity, consumer protection, and environmental protection from the core of the party's economic policy. The party has united with smaller liberal regional parties throughout the country, such as the former Labor Party, blah, blah, blah. Well into the 20th century, the parties had conservative, pro-business, and southern conservative populist business wings, and blah, blah, blah. Kind of boring stuff, man. But, that's what they set themselves up for. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Let's see here. So the Democratic Party officials often trace the origins to the inspiration of the Democratic Republican Party founded by Thomas Jefferson. The party also inspired the Wings and Republican organizations. See, Jackson, I don't know what that word is. Jacksonists believed the people had finally prevailed through a lavishly financed coalition of state parties, political leaders, and newspaper editors. A popular movement had elected the president. The Democrats became the nation's first well-organized national party, and type party organization became the hallmark of 19th century American politics. And it just continues on there. So, but the Democrats, like I said, the Democrats, their sign is the donkey. Their sign is the donkey. So you got the elephant and you got the donkey, and I'll put that together later. But it's weird. And then Democratic Republic, and like I said, they work hand in hand. With the Republic, the Republic deals with more of the and let me make sure I get this right, because this is crazy stuff, man. But they deal with it looks like just with the people, of what people can and can't do, from free market to gun rights, labor unions, things like that. Just kind of setting the business side of things, the business side. With Democrats, they more or less deal with the financial side, right? With the economy and money, again with businesses and all that crap. So I mean, they definitely have their own reasons to be there, and I can see that aspect used in a good way. And like I've always said, the government has good stuff in place. It's the people who run it that totally just demolish what it is. And both things are good. But again, it's the people that are within it, and it's the history behind it. It's a family-owned business. It's a family-owned business. The United States is a family-owned business. And you read that um, in history, I mean, from George Washington, and then you got, Christopher Columbus and whatnot, it's a business that ran over into here. And you end up getting a demonic, it is demonic, but democratic republic. A democratic republic is a form of government operating on principles adopted from a republic and democracy. Rather than being a cross between two entirely separate systems, democratic republics may function on principles shared by both republics and democracies. Common definition of the term democracy and republic often features overlapping concerns, suggesting that many democracy functions as republics and many other republic operate on democratic principles as shown by these definitions. A republic is a state in which supreme power is held by the people and their elected representatives. And a democracy, a system of government by the whole population or all the eligible members of a state, typically through elected representatives. Let's see. Notice that the United States exemplifies the very nature of a democratic republic, a country where some decisions, often local or made by direct democratic processes, while others, often federal, are made by democratically elected representatives. As with many large systems, U.S. Governance is incompletely described by any single term. It also employs the concept, for instance, of a constitutional democracy in which a court system is involved in matters of jurisprudence. Oh my gosh, I hate those big words. As with other democracies, not all persons in a democratic republic are necessarily citizens, and not all citizens are necessarily entitled to vote. Suffrage is commonly restricted by criteria such as voting age. In the U.S., the notion that a republic was a form of democracy was common from the time of its founding, and the concepts associated with representative democracy and hence with a democratic republic. It just basically means, like I said, you got the Democrats, you got the Republicans, they're one entity, they're one unit. And so it's a democratic republic that runs the United States, the business of the United States as a whole. They're not separate entities. They create that separate entity concept again to divide the people, but it is a whole because the Republicans have their own tasks they got to do and the Democrats have their own tasks they got to do. It's the drama that is created and generated within trying to persuade the people into choosing a president, of a dividing function. But at the end of the day, that president, runs with both parties. It runs with both parties. The only reason why, and it makes no sense to me, becoming aware that they both have jobs that you have to have as a whole to work together. The Republican job and the Democratic job, they have to work as a whole together. Because if you didn't, then you would have an economy collapse, which again is why they always shut down the government because of those kind of collapses. And it's insane, man. Hey, what's up, John? Hey, what's up, Jay? But yeah, it's crazy, man. But anyways, let's start digging deep into here, man. This kind of took a little longer than I wanted. What do we got in here so far? 24 minutes. Holy cow. I'm gonna have to learn how to read faster on these things. But anyways, yeah. So as a whole, that's kind of what they both are. And let's go ahead and we'll start looking into some different things. I mean, I got like the Constitution up here, and there has been 33 amendments to the United States Constitutions have been proposed by the United States Congress and sent to the states for ratification since the Constitution was put into operation. 27 of these having been rectified by the number of states. It's been rewritten a lot, because things change. That's kind of what they state. That things change as the economy changes, as the structure changes, which is fine. There's definitely other things in there that get jacked up as well. So you got the Constitution, you got the first government, which we already read about that. And we got Mr. Trump here. So let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and shift gears here and trying to kind of tie this all together. Because you know what the Democrats are, the Republicans are. So we got to look at Donald Trump here as the current president, right? As the current president. So he's an interesting guy, to say the least. But he is the people's, well, what's going on here? He is the people's choice, right? He is known as the people's choice, or how the United States would like it to be ran. When he was running, he kind of talked about all this stuff and how the people are first, right, and so on and so forth. But then when he went in, he turned right into another president. That's the same as all the other ones. But let's go ahead and read on Trump for a little bit, and then we'll go from there. And you'll kind of see a trend here. But Mr. Trump here, Trump was born and raised in New York, received economy degrees. He took charge of his family's real estate back in 1971, renamed it Trump Organization, and he expanded and built his business. Trump later started various side ventures, including licensing, real estate, which is a big one, and consumer products. He managed the company until he went to be the president. He co-authored several books, so he wrote a lot of books. And he also produced, so he was a producer too, and hosted the reality television show The Apprentice, which is kind of interesting. So he was a producer as well. Trump into the presidency, he's current president. Let's see here. And then it just talks about all the other stuff here, that he started travel bans, and this is one of the sad things that really irritates me. I didn't realize, but I guess he ended up allowing people, and I could be wrong, but I mean, based on what I've read, there's an Arctic refuge, and I guess they constantly wanted to drill for oil there, but it's a beautiful land of nature, and it was off limits. But then Trump kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and I think that there's drilling in there now. And the problem with that is that it just destroys the land. And I was talking about this, about Little Rock, the things that happen in Little Rock, and how, the indigenous people stood, and a lot of people from all over the world gathered together to stop them from drilling on sacred land. And they ended up, at the end of the day, they passed that law to drill oil. And then what happened? The pipes broke, and then the oil got into the water, contaminated the water, and that was it. It's sad that, that, man, it's horrible, man. I mean, we don't even need oil anymore, Everything could be run off water, hydrogen, any form of other liquid source you can use, and you don't need oil for it. You don't need to destroy the land for it, but it's all about profits, all about business, all about trading. So I was pretty upset to read about that. He also recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, and so on and so forth. So yeah. But here's the interesting thing, is about his history, and you'll see a trend here. Again, I was really hoping I could get this stuff out there faster, but there just really is no way. So Trump's ancestors originated from the German village of Cala, whatever. But they're from Germany. They're from Germany. So you know what happened in Germany, right? So his ancestors were from Germany, and his mother's side was from Scotland. So Germans and the Scottish. So that's some rich history blood right there. All of his grandparents and mothers were born in Europe, though. So they were born in Europe. Trump's grandfather was one of the first immigrants in the United States in 1885. And, you know, that's a key thing, too, 1885. At the age of 16, he became a citizen. He started to build his business. He's part of the Canada Gold Rush. And he met his wife. Let's see here. Let's see. And then he started working with his mother in real estate when he was 15. That's Trump's dad. When he was 15, shortly after his father's death, their company founded was primarily active of the Queens in Brooklyn. And then when the whole World War II thing came about, the grandfather, I think it's the grandfather, he lied about himself, and he said that he was Swedish. He was Swedish, so then they wouldn't kick him out. Because, I mean, you know, if they found out, you know, people were from Germany, you know, things would be rather interesting. You know, they think it was a spy. He could have been a spy. We don't know. And that's one of the key things, is that there was a lot of spies back then. There was a lot of spies back then that were trying to migrate into the United States. And, you know, there was no documentations too much. I mean, if you went to a town and stuff, they would check you and see. But as a whole, you know, there was no database on people. You know, there's no social security numbers. You know, that's was found later. You know, with those social security numbers. And, you know, he could have been a spy. You know, I don't know. Let's see. And then Donald Trump spent a lot of his time in New York City, man. And what else we got here, man? Let's see. Trump did not serve in the military. He was never in the military. He was deemed fit for service based upon military exams. And so on and so forth. Let's see, his ancestors were Lutheran. Then his wealth, so on and so forth. But he was part of real estate. Man, where did I read that at? I must have read it on something else. But he was a public figure. You know, as a whole, Donald Trump has always been a public figure. WrestleMania, WWE WrestleMania. He hosted, I think it was 3. Might have been 2. Maybe it was 2. It was like 2 or 3 WrestleManias he hosted. And he's always been part of the public eye. He's always been part of the public eye. And it's fascinating to me on how how these people get into this stuff because he's part of the business. He's part of real estate. He's part of banking, um, things like that. But there really isn't a whole lot else on him. I was really thinking I was going to find some stuff on him, but he really is just kind of a side man. Um, and he's like one of the few billionaire or millionaire people that have filed for multiple bankruptcies. I do know that, to keep himself going. Yeah, there isn't a whole lot though. It's kind of boring stuff, man. Let's see. He has his own star in Hollywood Walk of Fame, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, he has a lot of stuff going. But to me, it doesn't make any sense how he became president in the first place, especially in the controversial stuff with all this. But here's the interesting thing that I read, and this is what I was going to read before anything else. In 2017, the Republican-controlled House and Senate included in tax regulations a provision that would open. Man, where was that at? I don't remember. But I ended up reading with him that he. There we go. That'd be why. All right. So when Trump was being falsely accused, or he was denying, the current things that he's going through, all the investigations, he was calling it a politically motivated witch hunt and saying that it should be terminated. So a witch hunt. So he proclaimed that all of this stuff, all this controversy, because he's a controversial guy. He really is. And that's part of the way of strategizing on things. He makes things stick out, so then you're going to watch. I mean, controversy sells. That's it does. Controversy sells, and that's what he is. He's full of controversy. He's full of controversy. So when I read this, he said the witch hunt. It was like a witch hunt. So that got me thinking about this, and I actually almost wanted to just change this whole live thing to talk about this stuff, but it'll just be talked about later. But a witch hunt or a witch purge, which they've been making those purge movies. Man, that actually ties in real good. Is a search for people labeled witches or evidence of witchcraft, often involving moral panic or mass hysteria. The classical period of witch hunts in early modern Europe and North America took place in the early modern period of about the 1450s to 1750s, spanning the upheaval of the Reformation and the 30 Years' War, resulting in estimated 35,000 to 100,000 executions, including illegal and summary executions. It is estimated 200,000 or more witches were tortured, burnt, or hanged in the Western world from the 15 to the 18s. The last execution of peoples convicted as witches in Europe took place in the 18th century in other regions. Contemporary witch hunts have been reported from Africa and Guyana, I think, and official regulations against witchcraft is still found. A modern definition for witch hunt is an investigation usually conducted with much publicity, supposedly to uncover subversive activity, disloyalty, and so on, but really to weaken political opposition, which is interesting. And that they use the term witch hunt for publicity and uncovering the veil. And that's really triggered me, and I wanted to actually talk about that. So that's probably going to be my next video. I'll probably, hopefully, do that tomorrow. I'm on vacation again. Yeah. So hopefully. So yeah, it's rather interesting. Like I said, for you guys who are still tuning in, thank you. This is kind of long, dragged out, a little boring, but you know, you have to do research on how things are, because to me personally, Donald Trump is, the president itself is still a stooge. It's just a person, and just like it said, it's all about publicity. Allowing people to choose sides, and so many people think that he's a savior. Um, you look at the laws he has passed, and he ends up turning into to uh, too much business, and not thinking of the whole, or of the people, especially with sacred land, man. Sacred land, you should be taking care of that land. And he's just building more and more businesses, more and more businesses. We should be building businesses to take care of the land, take care of trees, grow, crops and things like that. That's what should be. There should be no digging for oil. It should all be about preserving and allowing the earth to blossom and grow. That's money. That's business. Why they don't do that? That's the kicker right there. That's the kicker. And it leads into, let me get these things all closed here, so that I don't get confused. I have like a whole bunch of stuff here. So I'm going to read this, and then we're going to go on here. And I can copy and paste these videos, so I'm probably going to divide this stuff, so then I can get right to the good stuff here. But I was at work today, and a worker said, hey, you should read Matthew 24, because I was talking to him about people and how, there's so many people that claim that they're Christ, or they claim that they're a Messiah, or they claim that they're going to be the person that is going to be in charge and the ruler of this world, right? So many people, and it's daily. It's daily. There's economies and little towns that people have built and flourished through these perceived messiahs, and people fall for it. People fall for it because they see these miraculous signs and wonders and believe that, they believe that they are the Christ, and they just get brainwashed and things like that, and it's sad. It's sad. It really is. And I constantly run into them here and there as well. And but yeah, this brought me into Matthew 24. So I'm going to go ahead and read that, and then we'll get into the business structure on these organizations that were brought over here from business standpoint. So this is Matthew 24, the King James Version. I actually wanted to read in mine, but I bet you, no, it should be in here. Oh man, I don't remember where I put it. Okay, well, I'll just read the King James Version, and we'll go from there. And Christ went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to shew him the buildings of the temple, to show. I guess I should have grabbed another one. To show them, he's going to show the disciples the building of the temple. And Christ said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things happen? Or when shall these things be? And what shall be the signs of thy coming, and of the end of the world? And Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilence, earthquakes, in far off places. All these are the beginning of sorrow. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another, and many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many, and become inequity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold, but he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this good news of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. And again, I've said that before. It's not that it's the end of the world, it's the end of the system. It's the end of the system, because there's a big business structure, the Roman Empire structure. That's what's running this world, is that Roman Empire, that Archon Empire. That's run. So until that falls, that's what we're under. We're under Archon rule. So it's interesting. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the Kadesh place, or holy place, which is a set apart place, then let them which be in Judah flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take any things out of his house. Neither let him which use in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the water, neither on the Sabbath. Which I was talking with Michael Basham, and we're trying to distinguish, what is the Sabbath day? What is a Sabbath day? It never really talks about what the Sabbath day is. You look at the 7 days of the week, each day is is a is an idol, is a day of worship. So, like the sun, you worship the sun. Saturday, you worship Saturday. Moon day, you worship the moon. There's some other ones, I don't know. I know Thursday is Thor day. So, those are the 7 days of the week of idol worshiping. It's not a Sabbath. Sabbath is a day of relaxation, right? Day of not working. So, the Sabbath is just a day of not working. A day of detoxing, a day of cleansing, a day of going within self. And that's what the holy place is. Holy place translates to, I'm still learning, it's either Kodesh or Kadesh, but it means to set apart. You're going into the set apart place, which would be that sacred place within self, or that I am. Christ said to go within to discover Christ, and to discover heaven and the Father, or the Creator, within that set apart place. And that's an important part right there. And that's what I tell you guys to do too, is go through praying, go through meditation daily, so you can relieve some of that stress. Let's see here. For then it shall be, Sabbath day. For then shall be tribulations, such as was not since the beginning of the world. They wouldn't. It would make no sense. It would make no sense. And if Trump was a real person, again, they would play him for a fool, because it's all predetermined. It's all predetermined. Man, it's messed up, man. But regardless, you look at what Trump has done. You look at all the other outcomes of what he has done, and he hasn't really saved anything. He's just created more business opportunities, because that's what he is, a businessman. He's just created more business opportunities, for profit. Let's see. Wherefore, If they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth, behold, he is in the sacred chambers. Believe it or not, for as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man. For whoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. The eagles will gather where the dead are. And the United States flag is an eagle. It is an eagle. So, where the eagle gathers is where all the carcasses are. So the dead, or the spiritually dead. It's all symbolic. As far as like the Bible goes, it's all symbolic. So that would be the spiritually dead. And the eagles, or the eyes, are watching over you. They're above you, circling around you. So interesting. Let's see here. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the signs of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. And they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from the end of the heaven to others. And again, this talks about both aspects. It talks about the spiritual aspect and the physical aspect, like the four corners of the earth. And some people, state, well, that's a flat earth theory. That I don't know, but I do know that the four corners of the earth can also be the mind. And you also got the third eye, or the pineal gland, and that's what I talk about, the magic eye, the imagination eye, the power to go within yourself, to see visions, to see your guides, so on and so forth. So that's the four corners of the earth from a spiritual standpoint. So it's real powerful. It's all symbolic, and it all kind of merges things together. It's very misunderstood. And then it just keeps going forth. So just at the end of the day, you just got to be aware. The one thing, DTA, don't trust anybody. Don't trust anybody. Just because somebody sounds good doesn't mean, that you should be all for them. You can walk beside them, check them out, see what's going on. And then if you learn some stuff, and then you can make a decision. The power of discernment. You definitely have to use the power of discernment through all this stuff. That's why I started off reading about the Republicans. That's why I started off reading about the Democrats. You learn the good side and what it means from a business standpoint, but you also learn about like the people standpoint, which I want to get to here in a second. And the people who run it, as a whole different show, a whole different entity. It's all business. It's all business. That's crazy, man. Let's see here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to end this off with the organizations that we have on this planet here. Right, so we got the Skull and Bones, we got the Illuminati, we got the Order of Owls, which I haven't read too much into, so I'll read about that. There's also Bel, and Athena, and I also was going to look up the other one as well. I forgot to look that up. I'll see. So we're going to go ahead and talk about Skull and Bones, and then we'll go from there. But before I do that, so with the elephant and the donkey, what is that? What is that? So the elephant, right? So we got the Vatican, and with these founding fathers and these organizations that we're going to talk about, with the Skull and Bones, Illuminati, Freemasons, so on and so forth, they're male ran. They are run by men. the dominating force, you know, in their head, you know, they are the dominating force in both aspects, you know. And I talked about this briefly. Well, I didn't talk about it briefly. I made a whole video on it, but I talked about on the representation of the church and the representation of the pillars and how they use the pillars as let me get my pictures going here. There we go. But they use the pillars as the form of the Godhead. The Godhead is the penis, right? It is the penis. And if you do research on the pillars, that's what it is. That's what the Godhead is. And the church represents the female's womb, or the vagina. So that's why you have the pillars on the outside or the pillars on top, and then the people enter in, you know, the seamen enter into the church, and they go in there to worship the Godhead, which would be the penis. And it's some jacked up. Holy cow! I got a whole bunch of people talking on here. Hey, how's it going, White Wave? I didn't realize you were on here. Awesome. Let's see here. But yeah, but that's what the Godhead is, and that's what you know, the word God is. And in reverse, God is what? Dog. Is a dog chasing its tail, or chasing its penis too. You never know. But it's some jacked up stuff, man. You're never gonna look at church the same way again with that kind of revelation, you know. Let's see what White Wave got saying here before I continue on here. Let's see. She says, do you believe that those who have colonized Israel are really Israel? If they are light-skinned people, then no. In Israel, the skin color, they were all dark-skinned people. Even in the Bible, you read in the Bible, you know, they couldn't find Christ in the flood of people because they were all the same color. They look the same. They do. They look the same. So that really distinguished, and you could tell between the Roman Empire and then the people from Israel or Jerusalem. They were dark-skinned people. And that's when I was watching some Jews, you know, and how they have their hair like in a little curl, trying to have dreadlocks of some kind, you know, trying to it's some messed up stuff, man. You know, I mean, you know, and you just gotta look from a historical standpoint of things. But no, let's see. White Wave says she is a hybrid. Okay, thank you. I was gonna say that's a big word. I don't know what that is, and I have some native in me, as do I. Having a heart for the native, it looks so similar for me to support. See, I have to watch your. Yeah, I know. I covered a little too much in this one. I was talking about the Democrats and Republicans, and it was kind of long and dragged out, but that's okay. Let's see. And she thought that Trump was running as a joke at first, but then I saw who he was running against. No one wants a true, but that's the, oh man, that brings it into something. So that's the catch. That is the catch, okay? So I really try to watch what I say on here, and I've already said some key words that might block this video already. But the whole PETA, I'll just say that the whole PETA file thing is a secret thing. So you can look at Trump and Hillary, right? You know, the whole thing there, and that's what I was getting at with, and that kind of ties in. So thank you, White Wave. So that really ties into the realization of what I was talking about, and how this is a male dominating force. They run by the Godhead, which is the penis, right? So then you got the elephant and the donkey, right? So the elephant is a representation of the penis, and then you got the donkey, which is a representation of the butthole, right? You put those things together, they work together evenly. It's symbolic, that's how they view things. They run by the Godhead, and they expect everybody else to bend over for them, right? And that's what I talked about with the eagles. The eagles is the use for the United States, right? The eagles or the Godheads, skull and bones, whatever they be, they watch over you. They watch over you. In God we trust, right? Godhead. They watch over you. They watch all the dead carcasses play around in this game. it's it's insane, man. But you do research on that. It's nuts. But yeah, I never even thought about that. You put that together, that Trump won, right? The Trump card, or the false trumpet, right? For the end times. It's that Trump card to keep things secret, because what's going on now? They're opening up all these pedophile things, investigations on seeing how deep it goes, So why not put somebody in the public eye, right? Trump is the perfect person to put in the public eyes with so much controversy, and a good way of distracting the people. A good way of distracting the people from this stuff, right? From the stuff. It would have made no sense for Hillary to win. It would have made no sense for Jeb to win, right? Because he, again, was a Bush, and we know the secrets of the Bush as well, right? So it makes total sense on why they did what they did, to allow you to realize that the people are going to be persuaded while this stuff is still hidden. It'll be talked about, but it's still hidden. Will there be justice? I'm sure there will be eventually, but it's going to have to take something that's going to change the way the archons are run, right? To change the way and how the archons are run between the banks, the military, and the churches. Those three things will have to change. The whole structure of that. All the leaders and stuff would have to change to make that change. It's a big deal. It's huge. It's huge. Let's see. Let's see. White Wave likes the wow factor of Trump. Let's see. How's it going, Firstborn? Let's see. Firstborn says we'll see big changes with Trump. Be ready. That's true. We should bless the land that. Yeah, we need to take care of the land. We need to love it, cherish it, nurture it. It's our mother. It's our mother. It grows fruit. It grows life. We need to take care of the mother. We're born into a consumer world that never should have been. We never should have been in a consumer kind of world. It's a lie. It's a distraction. It's not what we're supposed to be doing. Let's see. Yep, and they do to get taken away. I mean, look at Kennedy. Kennedy fascinates me a lot, and I talked about this before too. Kennedy, and then you had Marilyn Monroe as well, right? But they wanted to get out. I really feel that Kennedy was also a puppet as well, but he wanted to get out. That's why he's making this stuff known. And I think that he was used as a tool as well, right? He was used as a tool as well of letting future fake leaders, right? Future leaders of the United States go, hey, if you make this stuff known, right? You make our secret stuff known, that's what's going to happen to you. That's what's going to happen to you. So that can definitely be an interesting case. But yeah, Kennedy was interesting. I really listened to a lot of his stuff that he said, because there was some interesting things that he was saying, and I want to put that in the video too. But there's just so much to cover, man. It's crazy. Let's see. Oh no, you're good, White Waves. If you got questions, let me know. You make it more interesting. You brought us some other key points too, so I appreciate it. All your questions are definitely much appreciated because it switches things. Switches things. So yeah. So yeah, but otherwise as a whole, these organizations run off of the Godhead, run off of the Godhead and off of business. Like I said, the Archon type business. So we're gonna look into the Skull and Bones, and then we'll go from there. There's an order, but we'll just have to just read it through. So Skull and Bones is an undergraduate senior secret study society at Yale. So good old Yale is the oldest senior class landed society. The society's organization and the Russell Trust Association. Again, do some more research on this stuff because this stuff gets deep. And oversees the organization. So yeah, you look to the Trust Association, you'll learn more about it. The society is known informally as Bones, and members are known as the Bonesmen. And Skull and Bones was founded in 1832 after a dispute among Yale debating societies of Lionel something Brothers in Unity and the Calapayan Society. Again, more research there over that season's awards. Let's see. The Order of the Skull and Bones, the first senior member included, and it just tells about names. I try to avoid names. Again, like I said, we'll see if this video gets banned or not. The Society's assets are managed by the Society's organization, the Russell Trust Association, incorporated in 1856 and named after the Bones co-founder. The association was founded, again, the first indicated distribution was published in, noted that the mystery now attending its existence forms the one great enigma which college gossip never tires of discussing. Let's see here. Skull and Bones selects new members among students every spring as part of the Yale University, and has done so since 1879. Since the society's inclusion of women in the early 90s, Skull and Bones selects 15 men and women of the junior class to join the society. Skull and Bone taps those that it views as campus leaders and other notable figures for its membership. So again, it was a male-run business, and then they ended up bringing women into it as well. And this was kind of interesting too. There's a tomb. The Skull and Bones Hall is otherwise known as the Tomb. The building was built in 3 phases. The first wing was built in 56, the second wing in 1903, and neo-Gothic towers were added to the rear garden in 1912. And it's kind of interesting. You can look that up. The front and side of the Portland brownstone is in Egypt style, which again, you know, they try to copy Egyptian stuff, which is where the pillars come in. Man, they got it all over the place. It's insane. Even on how they got man, I can't even think what they're called. Just everything that they build here in the United States is they're trying to duplicate the Egyptians. You know, they're trying to make it look like that they're the gods, that they're the rulers, which in some ways they kind of are. But it's not the United States though that's the dominating. It runs into Britain and all that stuff as well, because you got the Queen. You got to have the Queen. The Queen rules them all, right? One ring to rule them all. So yeah, it's interesting. The power of Saturn. And that's what it is too, the power of Saturn. Look into Saturn. Again, it's all about money and business, time, so on and so forth. So, you know, Saturn is worshipped quite heavily on this planet. And, you know, it's hard to pinpoint exactly why. And see, they created an enclosed courtyard and so on and so forth. The society owns and manages Deer Island, an island retreat. Um, Interesting. Let's see. Skull and Bones membership developed a reputation associated with the power elite regarding the qualifications for membership. If the society had a good year business, this is what the ideal group will consist of: a football captain, a chairman of the Yale Daily News, a conspicuous radical, a wolfen poof. What? A wolfen poof, a swimming captain, a notorious drunk, with a filmmaker, a political columnist, a religious group leader, a chairman of the lit, a foreigner, a ladies' man with 2 motorcycles, and an ex. If it had a good year, that's what? So I guess that they would just kind of choose from a political standpoint, I guess. Let's see. Like other Yale Senior Society, Skull and Bone memberships were almost exclusive, limited to white people. Yep, because that was a big deal back then too. It's getting a little dark in here. There we go. But it was getting a little let's see. There we go. But it was all ran by the Romans, right? The Romans. This is the color skin Romans, and they hated dark skinned people. They hated dark skinned people, and that's what it entitled. Eventually, they got more members, right? Because I mean, if they were that, which again is also a way of hiding things, right? Because you got the KKK as well. That's what they're part of as well. It gets deep, dude. It really does. But the fascinating thing that fascinates me about the Skull and Bone things is that it's Yale. It's Yale. It's the college, right? It's the schooling curriculum. It's the college curriculum to get you ready for business or the enslavement of this world. The enslavement of this world. And it's so very fascinating to me on how that is run, how that structure is run, right? I've always felt that, I wanted to go to college, right? Because there was stuff I wanted to learn. I'd like to get a good degree in like psychology and stuff. But you have to do all these other meaningless stuff, like say history, for example, or something like that. It's just, just get to the point. I want to learn about psychology. Give me the stuff for psychology. That's it. That's all I would need. But they give you all these other things, and then at the end, after you get done with your college and you see your bill, you might as well have just bought a house because that's the same price as a house, right? Or a real expensive car. It's insane. It doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, Yale Skull and Bones is just another way of controlling the people. A business. And basically choosing the elite too, right? Choosing the elite. Yale is like real hard to get into because they're looking for elite members, and that's kind of what they were talking about, and how their vision or their ideal would be to have a person from each category. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. Let's see here. So they were all white males for much of its history, while Yale itself has exclusionary policies directed at particular ethics and religious groups. The senior societies were even more. While some Catholics were able to join such groups, Jews were more often not. Some of these excluded groups eventually entered Skull and Bones by means of sports through the society's practice of tapping standout athletes. Star football players tapped for Skull and Bones included the first Jewish player and African American player. class of 1950 who turned down the invitation for the society. And that probably was a good idea on his part. Because again, Skull and Bones, it's all attached to the Illuminati and Freemason, all that stuff as well. Because sadly, there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes. But at least they allowed it to happen, though. I mean, I don't know who these people are. Like like Jackson. I think I remember. I think he was really good football player back in the day. Let's see. Yale became blah blah blah. That Skull and Bones remains. So at the end of the day, I could just keep reading on and on. But at the end of the day, Skull and Bones is an organization to discover the elite, educational, business. You get financially. You're smart in the head. You know what you're doing, right? You create business partners from the Skull and Bones. So that's what Skull and Bones is business partners. Then you get into the, I don't know which one to touch on. Let's do Freemasons. So Freemasons, oh crap, I didn't even open it up. All right, give me a second here. So that's Skull and Bones. To me, I always thought the Skull and Bones was like some kind of bad, like, man, this is where these people originated from. They're real bad people. But it's business. I mean, it's good for what it is, but what it's represented and how it was used is bad. It's the people that ruin it. And again, there's a lot of good stuff that is set in place. It's just on how it's ran. Business. You want to have good business people to run the society. Let's see here. All right. So, Freemasons. Freemasonry or Masonry consists of fractal organizations that trace their origins to the local of stonemasons, which from the end of the 14th century regulated the qualifications of stonemasons and their interaction with authorities and clients' business. The degrees of Freemasonry retain the three grades of medieval craft guilds, those of apprentice, journeyman, or fellow, now called fellow craft, a master mason. There are the degrees often by craft or Blue Lodge. Freemasonry members of these organizations are known as Freemasons or Masons. They are additional degrees which vary with local Lydian jura whatever, and are usually administered by their own bodies, separate from those who administer the craft degrees or witchcraft, which like I said, we use witchcraft daily. It just depends on what form you use. The basic local organizationally unit of Freemasonry is the lodge. The lodge are usually supervised and governed at the regional level, usually whatever that word is, with either a state, province, or national border by a Grand Lodge or Grand Orient. There is no international worldwide Grand Lodge that supervises all of Freemasonry. Each Grand Lodge is independent and they do not necessarily recognize each other as being legitimate. Modern Freemasons broadly consist of two main recognition groups. The regular Freemasons insist that a volume of scripture is open in working lodge, that every member profess belief in a supreme being, that no women are admitted, although in some, those who transition to women after being admitted may stay, and that the discussion of religion and politics is banned, is now the general term for which have removed some or all of these restrictions. So that's kind of interesting, is that religion and politics is banned in Freemasons, right? Freemasons. So if religion and politics are banned, what is Freemason, right? So that would mean that Skull and Bones is the business aspect, so that would be the banking system, right? Man, I don't know. That'd be tough. I don't know where this would fit in then. Man, I don't know. So the Masons. The Masons Lodge. Let's see, small business organizations, they pay bills, whatever. Most lodges have some sort of social calendar allowing Masons and their partners to meet in less ritualized environments, often coupled with these events in the obligated places on every Mason contribute to charity. Huh, weird. It just talks about all the lodges. I wonder if I clicked in the wrong thing. Let's see here. So that doesn't really tell me anything. Alright, let's try this. Nope. That's it, man. That's all about Freemasons. They really don't have much of nothing on there. So I wonder what the big deal is about them. Other than the people, again, that are run in them. But they don't talk about religion or politics, so that's kind of interesting itself. So I guess the Illuminati would be the final thing, you know. Let's see. So the Illuminati is a name given to several groups, both real and fictitious. Historically, the name usually refers to the Bavarian Illuminati, an Enlightenment-era secret society founded in 1776. The society's goal were to oppose superstition, obscurantism, religious influence over public life, and abuses of state power. The order of the day. They wrote in their general status is to put into the machinations of the purveyor of injustice and to control them without dominating them. The Illuminati, along with Freemasons, oh, there we go. So they did work with Freemasons, and other secret societies were outlawed through edict by the Bavarian ruler with the encouragement of the Catholic Church. In the several years following, the group was vilified by conservatives and religious critics who claimed that they continued underground and were responsible for the French Revolution. So there's some research right there. Ah, man, my contacts are all dry. Many influential and oh my gosh, man, and progressive politics counted themselves as members, including some other people who were ordered, blah, blah, blah. In subsequent use, Illuminati refers to various organizations which claims or are perpetuated to have links to the original Bavarian Illuminati or similar secret societies. Though these links are unsubstantial, they often lead to conspire to control world affairs by masterminding events and planting agents in government and corporations in order to gain political power and influence and to establish a new world order. And that's true, you know, corruption and everything, you know, I mean, all this stuff is put in place, you know, I mean, we probably had good people in there, but then we have a lot of bad people too, control to some of the more widely known and elaborate conspiracy theories, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. So the first person, Adam, was a professor of canon law and practical philosophy at the University of. He was the only non-clerical professor of an institution run by the Jesuits, whose orders have been dissolved in 1773. The Jesuits, however, still retain the purge strings and some power at the university, which they continue to regard as their own. Constant attempts were made to frustrate and discredit non-clerical staff, especially when course material contained anything they regarded as liberal or Protestant, and so on and so forth. Resolving the spread the ideals of enlightenment, right? Because the Illuminati is enlightenment through some sort of secret society of like-minded individuals. Um, let's see. Finding Freemasonry to be expensive and not open to their ideas, he founded his own society, which again, people branch off into their own societies, and that's something we have to realize too, is that as we become more and more aware of what's going on, you know, more and more secret societies are built and grown, and you know it continues on. And it's because there is that sense of separation, or that sense of, well, I don't believe in that. You know, I'm not going to follow that. I got some other things as well, and then they'll go and create their own. They'll go and create their own secret organizations. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you can have real Freemason people and you can have fake. You can have fake ones. You know, they create their own churches. So, I mean, they would just follow with it, but they wouldn't be running it the way that they should be. Same with Illuminati, same thing. Um, let's see. So, but his own agenda, his original name for the new order was a big word, later changing it because it sounded too strange. Yes, it did. On May 1st, enforcers formed the Perfectionabilis, taking the Owl of Minerva as their symbol. The owl as their symbol. The members were to use aliases within the society. Law students, blah blah blah. Holy cow! It was until 1778 that the order became the Illuminatin Orden, or Order of Illuminati. Missenhauser was initially the most active in expanding the society while studying in the Munich shortly after the formation of the order. Da da da. Transitioning, reformation. Let's see. Person was recruited in 1780, and man, conviction of the right of strict observation, so on and so forth. Then corruption, talks about internal problems, so on and so forth. So it just keeps going. But the thing that fascinated me the most was the owls. So I love comic books. I love comic books. Big X-Men fan. Talked about it before. You know, big Marvel fan. But DC, I like Batman. I've always liked Batman. Something always fascinated me about him. But there is an organization called the Owls. The Owls. And there is an organization called the Order of Owls, which I haven't read yet, so we're going to check that out. But they worship this goddess called Athena. Athena. And she uses the owl, which is a representation of well, actually, let's go ahead. We'll just read it right now then. Let's see. In Greek mythology, a little owl represents or accompanies Athena, the virgin goddess of wisdom, or Minerva. I don't know what Minerva is. Let's see what that is real quick. Oh, it's the same thing as a Roman goddess of wisdom and strategic warfare, and the sponsor of arts, trade, and strategy. Oh, well, that would be why. So Minerva is just another way of, so, you know, basically they created these idol worshiping, right? They created these idols as a figure, right? So Minerva, I'm sure I'm saying that right, represents, the statue represented strategic warfare, arts, trade, and strategies. The Romans did not stress her relation to battle and warfare as the Greeks did, so on and so forth. So again, that's where the archon concept comes in. So that totally makes sense. So that's what that is. And let's see. Because of such association, the bird often referred to as the owl of Athena or the owl of Minerva has been used as symbol of knowledge, wisdom, prosperity, and um, you, whatever that is throughout the Western world. Interesting. So an Athena is often as a Greek guardian associated with wisdom, handicraft, and warfare, who was later with the Roman goddess Minerva. Athena was regarded as a patron and protectress of various cities across Greece, particularly the city of Athens, from which she most likely received her name. She is usually shown in her art wearing a helmet and holding a spear. Her major symbols include owls, olive trees, snakes, and gorgon, whatever that is. Oh, the olive tree, huh? I remember we talked about Christ and the olive tree. Wow, that kind of is interesting then. So be aware of the olive tree, and then of course the snakes. From her origin, or the whatever, Athena was closely associated with the city, and so on and so forth. So interesting. Interesting. Then the Order of Owls is a secret fraternal order founded in 1904. According to its literature, the purposes of the society is to assist each other in business, to help each other in obtaining employment, to assist the widows and the orphans of our brothers, to give aid to our brother in any way that they may need, and to assemble for mutual pleasure and entertainment. Oh, it's a catechism said, owls do good, speak kindly, shake hands warmly, and respect and honor their women. Interesting. The order originated among a group of men who engaged in different businesses, met for mutual assistance. The group included whatever. They got around to discussing the teachings and methods of different fraternal orders and decided to create a new one named after the owl. After several months of planning by the best, whatever, the locals units used the owl, so on and so forth. The Order of Owls worked 4 degrees and had a secret ritual, signs, grips, and passwords. The initiates were required to recite a lengthy obligation before I could join the order. An owl's circular in the early 1920s stated that we have a beautiful ritual, but not religious observances. Nothing in the ritual is offensive to any man's religion or irreligion. In 1912, it was reported that the owl's motto, penned by Frank in 1904, was, "There's so much bad in the best of us, and so much good in the worst of us. It hardly behooves any of us to speak ill of the rest of us." Interesting. The owls and their mottos have gone the hoo-hoos one better in the rescue of a good old but sadly abused Latin derivative. The rituals of the Order of the Owl stated, "We advocate no creed. We know that there are so many gods, so many creeds, so many paths that wind and wind. We believe that the art of kindness is all this old world needs." They elsewhere stated that their order was a secret society of good fellows, the good fellows, who believe in love, laughter, and the kingdom of heaven on earth, and does not believe in postponing one's enjoyment until after death. Other owls literally stated, claiming they were the only great secret fertility which does not claim in any matter to be a religious body. Interesting. There is even an Afro-American Order of Owls, and that was found in 1911, so that was interesting. And they were sued by the Order of the Owls. Wow. Of the name. Huh, interesting. So on and so forth. So interesting stuff. But that led me to and I forgot to save it again, but let me find it here real quick. But that led into, on how all these world leaders work together, right? All these world leaders work together. They hang out with each other. All the presidents hang out with each other. They go into that let me go here. I don't know if I watched something on it or what. Yeah, there we go. Bohemian Grove, I guess it is. All the presidents go there, and other government agencies, and then the skull run the bank. You got people who run the military, and then you got people who run the churches, the Vatican, right? That's all you need to run your business. And then people bank on it, and they get rich off of it, right? So all these people get rich off all this stuff. Most of the presidents have had some form of banking. Just like Trump. He was born into a household that was rich, right? That was rich. So he was a rich person, so he's able to go in there as well. And that's the thing that's interesting too. And I guess I should have brought that up earlier. Is that Trump and the Clintons are best friends? They've been best friends forever. So when my viewer White Wave said, let's see. Oh, she's been talking some more. So, and White Wave says, let's see. Shake a little tail feather. Owls are cool, so at least they have a great mascot. Yeah, I love the representation of the owl. It definitely is cool. But what I was getting at was that Trump is best friends with Clinton and Hillary. They've been best friends forever. You do research on them, they're best buds. They are. And you don't realize that until you look into things, So then when White Wave mentioned, on Hillary and the pedophile ring and all that stuff, it leads you to believe that Trump probably has a part in that as well, because he's part of the rich people. He's part of the rich people. And that's where the ultimate deception comes in, is that you can't believe everything that's being said. You can't believe everything that's being said. And there's just so many factors that you can. Let's see. She says, White Wave says, yeah, it makes you look at Trump's as a suspect, and it probably is, but it's ran by big business, right? You got Skull and Bones and Illuminati and whatever, the Archon system, right? The whole Archon system, right? The world is run by the Archons. Again, I thought it was aliens. It ends up just being a strategy on how to run your business. So at the end of the day, none of these presidents matter. The people keep waiting for some kind of antichrist or some kind of messiah to take control over it. But at the end of the day, you do your research, and then you just kind of discover and learn that they all work together. They work hand in hand. Every time you see a president and then they are no longer a president, then they're added to the group, right? They're added to the group picture of all the presidents. So they're hanging out with each other. They go golfing. They go to that one place. What's it called again? Oh, there we go. They go to Bohemian Grove, and then they all hang out there. That's their campground, but there's a lot of controversial stuff that happens there too. So, there's the blood rituals and sacrifices and all of that crap, that also play in. You got dark magic, and you got beings that play behind the scenes. It gets deep. And that's why it astonishes me. I gotta close this out, but it astonishes me on how people feel that the outside source, which would be Democrats, Republicans, and the president, that's it. That's how things are run. But it's not, because things are ran as a business structure. So you're going to be looking at profit and putting money in their pocket. And they can rub this stuff in our faces too. With this whole pedophile thing, people are going, well, we're gonna, the elite or the chain of command, because there's chain of commands within this faction as well, are gonna go, okay, well, we need people to go down for us to make the people think that that justice is being done, which it isn't, but they choose people. This is the key strategy, is choosing people on who they're going to go down with the ship, right? So they start exposing these certain people to take the blame, and then it looks like everything is taken care of. But you got to look at the root cause. Where is this root cause coming from? And that's why I never buy what people say, because there's always a catch. There's always a catch on where they're trying to go with it. And it's so complicated. That's why it was so hard to make this kind of video. So again, for those who stayed in the whole time, yeah, the scapegoat. That's right. That's what Whitehouse says. Yeah, the scapegoat. They use people. They're like, all right, so we're going to use that person and we're going to do it. Same with celebrities. Celebrities, they'll have these anxiety or panic attacks. They look like they're going crazy. It's because they're, again, being used as a form of hey, this is what happens if you do this. Just like with John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy was used as a way of, hey, if you expose what's going on, that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. So it's a vicious game. It's a vicious game. And and that's why I always look at people who are New Ages or going, listening to these ET beings going, well, things are changing. These ET beings are changing things. Things are changing behind the scenes. Healing is involved, but we got to realize on what we're dealing with. We have to deal with that first, right? That's where Christ was talking about the end times, or the end of the world, right? The end of how things are ran is coming to an end, and it's going to end ugly. It's going to end ugly because it's how this whole thing was formed. The United States, how was it formed? How was it formed? It was through all of these organizations. It's crazy, and then they tried to erase history and make George Washington look like he was praised and worshipped. And like I said, and I think it's the Washington Memorial. They really worship George Washington, and they put him on the ceiling, pointing to heaven. And, he was worshipped, and they really tried to make it look like things were ran from a white person perception. But there's also a lot of rumors too, and maybe actual facts, that Abraham Lincoln was actually a brown or African American, right? I hate using the word. I hate using any words that distinguish like a skin color, right? So I like to say brown or dark skinned. So that Abraham was dark skinned, and if you look at his pictures, he does look kind of different, whether it be native, I don't know, but he definitely stuck out to me. Abraham has always stuck out to me. And that can bring into Abraham's bloodline and stuff, in the Bible. There's so many things you could tie in with everything else. But at the end of the day, this video's been long. Holy cow, almost 2 hours. But White Wave says black. Yeah, and it's hard to say. I always tell people, I'm like, well, they're not really black, because if you look at the color of their hair's black, but their skin does not match their hair color. So therefore, it's not really black. So it's hard to say. But there is really dark skinned people that actually do match their hair color. So yeah. Yep. But yeah, but it's this video is dragged out for almost 2 hours, and it's really trying to distinguish how big of an empire this thing is. It's huge. It's falling apart. It's falling apart, and it will fall apart. Oh no, you're good. But yeah, but I mean, as a whole, the whole thing is falling apart. You know, the Roman Empire is falling apart. You know, this big foundation that they built will eventually fall. That's why they're trying to transition. Transition. That's the next phase. You know, is trying to transition. And you know, there's so many ways in how things can go. But I mean, it's highly important to realize one thing. You know, is that you know you discover Christ within you. You discover um the energy that dwells within you to allow you to get closer to the creator, allow you to get closer to to a more uh peace of mind and a better version of you to get ready for this stuff, to look and think outside the box in a mature manner, because I mean people can get enraged with all this stuff. You know, that's what's going on, is that churches are fighting against churches and what to believe, and people's, you know, sexual orientation. You know, a lot of people don't agree with that, and there's just so much things involved right now. It's a chaotic world. It's a chaotic world, and it's crazy. And you know, and it's just it's all distractions at the end of the day. It really is. And that's why, you know, you just have to go within self and discover self, and then we'll flourish from there. And basically what I was getting at is that you know there's that whole agenda, like the new age agenda or the team light agenda, is that to worship these ET beings, right? These ET races. So I mean, and there's no lie, there's so much research and proof that there's other beings that live here. There's other beings that live here that run in this environment. That run this environment. Antarctica is a key place. World leaders go visit there. Again, all the presidents and stuff go visit there. There's a lot of business trading that goes on in Antarctica. So there's something going on. There's a whole bunch of things going on. So let's see. White Wave says, "Have you heard of Project Bluebeam?" Yep, yep. And a little funny story about that is when I woke up in 2010, uh, one of the workers I worked with, he was involved in the military, and I would text him on the phone and stuff, and I started uh, getting these downloads and stuff. I didn't fully understand what downloads were, so I think it was probably in maybe late 2010, 2011, when I was learning what downloads were. And then, like I said, the third eye was known as being evil, so I thought I was being corrupt. So I read into Project Bluebeam, and I thought that I was being hit by a satellite, and it was predicting all of this stuff, right? It was predicting all this stuff. So I was like, dude, I think I've been hit with Project Bluebeam. He's like, what? I hope not. But, you know, at the end of the day, I ended up finding out, you know, that that wasn't the case. But, I mean, there's so many testimonies about that, though, on how people get hit with these kind of waves or satellites. And this is why it's so important to be cautious of what you eat, because of all those chemicals. Those chemicals that are within your body match go with the frequencies that they send out, right? The frequencies they send out, and you can send different kind of frequency waves, and it can manipulate and maneuver you. So you know, if you send certain frequencies, that can cause a chemical reaction within your body, um, and so on and so forth. So it's insane. It's bizarre. You know, I mean, it's a no joke thing. I remember reading an article a couple months ago about on how to be more aware of these signals, because this person was going into a building. I think I almost want to say it was like YouTube or something. I don't remember, but he got real sick and he felt like he got hit by some kind of wave. Um, and then this goes into, you know, why people act crazy and do some really bizarre stuff. Really bizarre stuff. There was a mayor, I think it was a mayor, and he was real respected, honored, and so on and so forth. But then just one day he was running around butt naked around the highway, and he said that these witches got him. These witches got him and did some spells on him, and he just was flipping out. So obviously he might have did something he wasn't supposed to do, and he got a spell on him. I don't know, but whatever the case might be, I mean, they're used as again, of trying to show their power and dominance of, hey, we can control you if we want to. There's no secret. There's agents out there. There's agents that surround us daily. You never know if a worker or a person at your church or just, even a close friend could be an agent. You wouldn't know. I mean, there could be a 10-year-old that's an agent, you go into the whole superhuman thing and how they build super soldiers from since their birth. And it's a bizarre world. I never rule out any of this stuff. That's why I make these kind of videos, whether they're long like this or not, and I appreciate those who tune in for these long talks, that, it's such a complex thing. Everything is complex. And when people say, well, you got to think more simpler, you can't, because it's so complex. Um, and you have to be aware of it. You have to be aware of it, why things are the way they are, and then just change the vibration and frequencies that surround you. You don't have to be a part of it. Be aware of it, learn from it, but you don't have to be a part of it. You get a choice for not being a part of it. And you get a choice on how to change that. How do you change a structure? How do you change a business? Is by formatting or creating new ideas, just like the school that I want to start. Again, real soon. I'll get that going here. But I want to start this school to teach you guys something different as well. Is that going to be another organization? It could be. It could be. But hopefully it's one that is designed to allow you to see through the veil, to allow you to learn more on how the spirits work inside you, how the spirits or discerning spirits that surround you, learning how the magic eye works, learning how the world works, and discovering the best version of you. We're in a world full of ego. We're in a world full of emotions. People ran on emotions. People feed off emotions. We work in a society of consuming, right? Consuming, and it's all about money, money, money. So you go to work, earn money, just like I was calculating today, right? Is oh, how much do I make? I don't know. I'll just say $17. So say you make $17, and you're like, okay, great. So every hour I make $17. You add that up, and then you're like, holy cow, look at all this money I made. But then you go and look into the tax, how much tax is taken out. So you'd have to, plus, if you got insurance and all that stuff, you delete how much you think you're making. $17 is an illusion. You're not really making $17 an hour. That's the illusion. So when people are making lots of money, that's an illusion. So what are you actually making? So I did a rough estimate. I'm like, all right, so $17 an hour, but they take out a lot of money, like $300 or something like that, $200, depending on how much you make if you're 40 hours or less, right? So, so I estimated, I was like, I wonder if I really only make like $7 an hour. Maybe I really am only doing $7 an hour, right? Because the rest of it goes to what? Goes to tax. And where does all this tax money go? It goes to those organizations, those businesses, those Archon businesses. And they can do whatever they want. They make a profit off of that. And that's what I've tried to explain to people, is that the taxes that we receive from when we go to like a grocery store or something like that, small businesses, that tax goes towards the town and city. So that tax is good. You want that kind of tax, because that balances things out. So then they can create more roads, And just take care of all the other stuff, because that's how a business is ran. So buying in your local stores and stuff is good for the economy and good for your town and city. So that tax is good. But the tax that's being taken out for you working for a business is not good, because they're robbing your time. They're robbing your time for their business needs. For their business needs. So that's not good at all. That's oh man, I don't even that word. I want to say like treason or something like that, but it's a bad deal. $17 and all you really taking home is $7 an hour. That's big pay cut, man. But it's the real facts too, and people don't look at it that way. It's part of the illusion. Everything is an illusion. That's why Christ said, don't live by the ways of the world, for the world will deceive you, but live by the way of this isn't his word, but go into the I am. I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. No one goes to the Father except through me. So go through the I am, the holy, go into the Holy Spirit, the set apart place, that dividing place, so you can learn on how the world works from a spiritual standpoint. Everything is spirit energy, everything is synergy. So yeah, so now I'm just really rambling on with a 2-hour video. So yeah, so thank you guys for tuning in. I hopefully this stuff somewhat made sense to you guys, and do some research on this stuff. But as a whole, this is a mafia type structure. It's a mafia type structure that goes beyond the United States, and it's not just the United States, it's the United Nations. The world leaders work together. When you got your rats and your moles and all that stuff within. The government's a good system, and it has good things in place, and it will come in handy in the future. But until we get rid of the rats and the moles and the agents and so on and so forth, it's rough. It's rough. But as people are waking up more and more and more, it's great. White Wave says, have a great night. Very, very interesting as usual. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, thank you all for tuning in, man. It's awesome. So yeah, so at the end of the day, that's what I always say, is discover that foundation within yourself. Get yourself right. The world will make you crazy. You listen to the news and politics and all that stuff. It'll make you go crazy. That's why you need to take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Discover about self and become the best version of you, so you can begin to help others and help them see the world for what it is, and help them see the world for what it can be. The power of change, the power of change, lighting up the world. We can make it happen, and we have to do it in a mature manner, not what is that word? Protesting. No more protesting. That doesn't solve anything, because that is outside self, and that is against on how the rules are run. People post so many videos about cops saying, hey, you can't do this. You can't set up tables to feed the needy, and so on and so forth. You know why that is? It's because the land is owned, and I will quote this first. America is not owned by the United States, okay? America is not owned by the United States. But here's the catch. The United States paves, right? They use gravel, they use cement to cover the land, and once that cement's cemented, they're not actually on sacred land. They're not on America. So therefore, it is a business. It is a real estate, right? So concrete is real estate. So they have the right to do what they want, because you're on their grounds instead of on sacred land, right? Instead of on sacred land. And it could be controversial, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. So you need to run by the United States laws instead of the laws of the earth. So that's why people get into what they are. That's why I say you need to be mature, and you need to handle your life, your business, like a business. If you want to change the world, look at business opportunities and how to change it. Get business partners on how to change the world in that manner. So yeah, so I'm going to keep rambling on. So love yourself, keep shining bright. Thank you guys for joining me in the chat room. Appreciate it very much.